All
Boom,
right.
boom.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Above and Beyond the Accessibility and Inclusion Podcast Live for Monday, March 20th. We missed you last week. Maddie, how are you?
I am glad that I put aside the March break to relax and spend some time with my kids and just breathe. So yeah, I'm good. Yeah, and spring is tomorrow. Hey, I
Well,
can't be
technically, it's
happier.
today.
No,
Spring
no,
is
no.
today,
First day of
actually.
spring is tomorrow. Equinox is tomorrow. First day of
I,
spring is
I,
21st.
people were saying it was today. Okay. All right. So
Well,
I sit corrected.
you know what? It's like by the time we next will meet, it will be definitely in the middle of spring. So yeah.
This is true. This is
Spring
true.
will have sprung in the next
Yeah.
24 hours.
Yeah. Mother Nature in Hamilton decided to grace us with one last snowstorm over the weekend. Not nearly as bad as it has been, but annoying nonetheless.
Yeah, I keep looking at our forecast and like the for me, when I'm really happy is when we no longer have lows below zero. Yeah, because right now I don't see any days where the highs are below zero. That's a good thing. But until we get that until we just stay above zero, we're going to keep getting these little flashes of snow. It's like 2 to 4 centimeters here. Ha ha ha. We're going to have 10 millimeters of rain. Bye bye snow. We're going to have 2 to 4 centimeters of snow again. And we're going to have 5 to 10 millimeters of
Uh,
rain. Ha ha ha. Yeah. Well, April showers bring May flowers. Um, but usually, yeah, I'm finding recently more, it's March and May that are rainy.
Mother Nature, hold my beer.
It's
I'm
really
not
funny though. I
done.
mean, we talk about this because like the weather affects our ability to have any kind of social inclusion. If we want to go anywhere, we really can't have more than a centimeter or two of snow. Like it's our. Funnily enough, they do not design affordable wheelchairs that we can access through ADP in Ontario, assisted devices program that are like winter ready. No chains on our wheelchairs. No 4-wheel drive. We got 2-wheel drive that likes to spin around in snow. I want to go this way. We're gonna go this way. You want to go forward. We're gonna go backward. You really want to go out today? No, we're just gonna shut the drive off because the battery just doesn't like it right now.
So that
And
leads
then
me to my
those of you
first.
who don't
So,
have motorized wheelchairs and manually push.
yeah, that wasn't happening for a while
No.
there. Speaking of transit, Maddie, let's delve deep into our conversation of a topic that we so really love. Um,
Yeah.
paratransit. And cue the Bruce Banner. Come on.
I'm looking for one. I'm looking for one. We now have hit 103 banners that we've used, but gosh. Okay. Oh. It's time for
There we
one.
go. Okay. Ha! Transit in Hamilton has hit a new low. I, for the life of me, can't understand some of the practices that has been taking place that we've scoffed at as exactly scoffed at as members of the disability community in Hamilton. It's gotten to the point where I've seen and felt things that were very dire, very desperate.
Mhm.
Drivers are um, stressed. Mental health is at its all-time high within the paratransit service here in Hamilton, and it's all because, yeah, I mean, it's not just Hamilton, but I can speak for the lived experience in Hamilton. But
Yeah.
it's gotten to the stress, the mental health of those that work in paratransit is just skyrocketed. I've been through and had conversations where people on the other end have felt dejection, desperation, fatigue, drivers emotional. I'm not naming any names here, but the organization has gotten to the point where that city and councils had to step in. When a driver from a subcontractor, and this is public knowledge, so I can say this, drops off a passenger that is a DNLU, which is do not leave unattended, at the wrong destination because it was the other passenger that was to be dropped off at that destination. There's a problem. There's a disconnect. And it's very sad. It's a sad state right now, to be honest with you, because it really shouldn't have come down to this. It really shouldn't have. Users of the system have not been listened to for years, for decades. I've only been a full-time user of the system since 2017. And I remember, and I actually just recently pulled up my first article letting darts know that there needs changes need to happen in
Back in
2017.
Yeah.
Yep. I
I
started
saw the
taking
date
it
and
in.
it's like you could choose, but you could just cycle the date and nothing changes.
Exactly. And in 2017,
2049.
still the same.
Still the
But
same.
I'm really hoping that people listen. There's vehicles going down on account of not getting parts for the system. Parts have to come in
Yeah.
from overseas, and that's a transit thing.
Yeah.
That's not just DART thing, but it's a transit
That's a
thing.
manufacturing issue thing, like that particular issue. Um, Part of the problem is that we rely on uh, transit buses and trains and automobiles and all these things that are not designed or built in Canada. So right now, like there's a global supply chain issue that's causing the delay of everything and parts for niche things, which happen to be, wheelchair accessible vans, wheelchair accessible buses. These things are all niche, so they don't have the same capacity of being made, which means that if we get a supply chain challenge, that our parts are going to cost more, which means they're going to be bought fewer, because which municipality wants to actually throw more money at a particular thing when they can just get it's again, it's priority, but it's like we're seeing getting parts for our wheelchairs to get
Oh yeah,
fixed and replaced. I waited 5 months for my battery for a new wheelchair that I had only been using for 2 months. It took me three and a half months. 3.5 months
not
to get it. In that time, I couldn't use it. And it's like and I've been talking to a lot of taxi drivers who have to who have their own vans, and they're trying to the cost of maintaining and the cost of licensing and the cost of insuring have doubled since COVID began.
absolutely.
Have their rates increased? No. Could we afford their rates if we increased? No. Like there's so many problems around this, and there was a question I was going to ask you. Like there's this big issue of how do we solve this problem? But one of the things I was wondering is, do you guys have a users a users like a transit users advocacy group? And if you
We
don't, maybe you should make a transit users union and collectively
well,
try to raise the voice and fix this attitude.
we are establishing a committee at the city level for transit users as well, paratransit users, HSR users. And I find it funny that the HSR vehicles, which is the Hamilton Street Railway
Yeah.
buses, have the kneeling function on those vehicles, yet the paratransit vehicles who need it more, very few of them do. Am I am I the only one seeing a problem with this?
No, but you're a good loud voice.
Very
It's
loud, very loud. It's gotten to the point where I have been blocked on Facebook by a certain paratransit company in here in Hamilton. I
yeah.
don't
When I
know
saw that
why.
happen, I was like, "What?" Like you were not even being, um,
Belligerent.
yeah.
It's
Like
not
okay,
belligerence, it's honesty.
so here's the thing, and like one of the things I've been looking a lot, and I'm trying to help people understand the difference between advocacy and activism, right? Um, and like you are really good in the advocacy sphere, like going to meetings, pushing for things, giving data, giving stories. But when the advocacy is not working and you're being left at the curb, literally, you know,
Mhm,
this is where activism is needed to, voice your. Well, like we started off. This is not a convenience thing. Like this can literally be a life and death thing. This is meeting our basic human freaking rights. But organizations, you know, they're if they're not listening to advocacy, they're not going to want activism either. But you don't have a choice. But to block you, when your activism in this particular case, in reaching out and it's stating that that you and all of the users are being wronged, they block you. It's just such a. I'm not sure that a council led or blessed committee is enough, right? I
mhm.
think there are times where the the community needs to take ownership, to take control, you know, because you got to pull voices together. But if you have a city committee, I guarantee you it's 3 to 6 months before you meet, and then you have to have a term of reference, and then everybody has to agree to it, and then what you can talk about and decide about stuff is going to be given to you by the city instead of raised by you as users.
Well,
I've just seen this happen with a few things, and I, why are they such? I had such a positive feeling before we started this damn live. Like I'm excited about life and everything, but transit freaking frustrates me. Ah!
okay, Kermit, take it easy. You know what? Yeah, it's gotten to the point where the fact that they've blocked me on Facebook for my honesty, and the fact that I've gotten so much traction, people messaging me, people
Yeah,
emailing me, appreciating my advocacy. I mean, that's all I need. That's all I need to know that I'm doing the right thing
yeah,
and that I continue to do the right thing. I mean, people not may not like it. I mean, it's funny. Going back to that article in 2017, I started the conversation then. I put my voice down. I knew I had a substantial presence, and all because they got blasted in the media in one of our TV stations here in Hamilton. Is really now why things are happening as they are. It's 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 borderline. This is a very serious matter. Let's not mince words
yeah.
here, but it's
It is.
borderline comical in the sense that, well, what took you so long to listen? Like there's a vehicle shortage. I mean, we talked about the vehicles,
Mhm.
going down and all that stuff. And, people like to use them till they couldn't, rather than maintaining them as they go along. We
Yeah,
talked about earlier about in this slide. We talked about having to, order parts and whatnot. I mean, I don't know about you. There's this thing called Amazon. You can get it in 24 hours. No,
Yeah,
I try
unfortunately,
to be comical here.
oh my God, I would love an Amazon for actually. To be honest, I when my, just for when it came to my wheelchair and the battery, I was pretty sure I could find a way to get it from Amazon, but because it was a warranty thing and I don't have money, it's like I have to wait the damn process. So it's like like there. Oh, priorities, planning, perseverance. These are
Yeah,
three things that municipal run organizations seem to not have.
yeah, that makes sense. I
The,
mean,
the three P's, and they're just the three P's of progress, which is the fourth P.
so throughout my advocacy of late, I've created what I'd like to call a darts priority list, and I've
Your
called it
dartboard?
in three. What?
Is it
That
your
too.
dartboard?
That too.
Okay.
But so so I have expedited, I have urgency, and then I have
Uh-huh.
a grace period for certain things. And I've
Yeah.
sent it to members of council. I've resent it to members of our transit system here in Hamilton. And you
Yep.
know what? Enough is enough. You know, when you work with the ridership will work with you. Story
Yeah.
without
I mean,
change is just manipulation.
it would be interesting to have a survey done of the ridership of how they what their comfort level and trust level is, and what are areas that they would like darts to improve. Sometimes just asking people will get you some good answers. Um, but like so I hear about darts through you and a few other people. So I also I know from in Ottawa the experience that I've had over the years and other users have had over the years with our system here. Like it's it all stems from, like, I believe it stems from this 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 systemic problem of the idea that transit is um a favor, like there that it is something that is over and above what we're giving you something special, we're giving you extra, we're treating you special,
I mean, I'd
like
like to call it above and
going to,
beyond, but okay, we'll go. You can say over and above. That'll be the next podcast we do.
do you really want darts to be considered above and beyond? Do you really want to mess with your reputation by associating those two words with them? Do
Well,
you
every time
think
they
that
say the
you'd like for
words
the
in when every
yeah,
time they say
let
the words in like print material, or verbally, the light goes
you
off and
should
like, oh, thank you. I appreciate the
yeah, what you
publicity.
should do is send them a bill, send them an invoice for the use of your trademark.
Exactly. I gotta get it trademarked.
Yeah.
It's
Now,
true.
if you really wanted to get hits, you could just accidentally call yourself above and Beyonce. It's got a nice ring on it. It's got a ring to it.
It really does. That caught me off guard. I'm sorry,
I
folks. I'm not-
and I didn't even use a banner this time. Random things come to my head, and I just have to say them sometimes. Yeah. So, next topic.
well, let's just say there's no collaboration with Ed Sheeran because they're not perfect.
Oh, yeah. Um, yeah. It's just a lot of bad blood. Just a lot of bad blood that can swiftly get away from you.
Yeah, and they definitely ain't bootylicious. I'll
Oh,
tell you that much.
do you know what? Okay, I
That's
I
the only one
really
that
don't.
came to mind. I can't help it.
About it so delicious. Yeah. I if I really want to drive my oldest daughter crazy, I will. Oh, we got a comment here. Um.
You got a comment?
Okay. Well, yeah, we do. Yeah. Uh.
Oh, hey guys.
Irina says, I think it's important to educate the public what the names of these. I'm just going to. She's going to show this. I'm going to pop it on the screen. Hello there. I think it's important to educate the public what the names of these companies are to bring awareness. Unless they're impacted by the issue, people don't seem to care what the company's name is. Yeah, well, we're talking about DART, which is the
Yeah,
what do
in
the
Hamilton, yeah.
initials stand for? Yeah, it's
Disabled
Hamilton's
and Age
paratransit.
Regional Transit System. Yeah,
There
I
you go.
know Irina. Yeah, she's great. Um, I was Monty. I was in the other section, so I didn't see all this. But this is great.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I have the ability to see all the comments and bring them onto the screen.
yeah,
I just every once in a while forget to do that, but today we've had a few. That's pretty cool.
this is good. This is good. Thanks for joining us, Irina, and Miss Monty.
Interaction.
We like that. We like
Uh,
that. And you know what? It's borderline comical because lived experience doesn't get the notoriety nor the respect that it deserves. We both know that. People seek validation at the end rather than um, information at the forefront to do it right and be inclusive from the start. Something that you and I
yeah.
talk about very, very passionately.
Yes.
And I'm going to a city presentation on Thursday to really talk about this. And paratransit is part of my talk, and I will freely mention the fact that I couldn't do paratransit. Not only not of all which names are see the thing, and I'm getting stressed out. I've got a big presentation to do, and I'm getting stressed out, and I can't even book paratransit a week in advance. You're kidding me, right?
Yeah.
So I mean
I
that's and it's stress and anxiety that is
yeah.
unnecessary.
It's we do not have an inclusive world if we cannot get the assistance to leave our door to go to the next place we need to go to. And it's oh the hoops that we have to go through, um the hoops that we have to go to just get a person to take our call, to make an appointment for us to get transportation to us. Like it's so onerous, and it's you know you end up in the queue for hours on end, trying to get
Hmm.
in. It's like 100th person in the queue. um and like then when you actually are able to book, it can be difficult to actually you know get it when you need it. And they're just like I know, like, and I've said this before. My biggest problem, I love, I can in my motorized wheelchair, I can get all around my small town. It's pretty great. More and more businesses are trying to find ways to make it accessible so I can actually get in their businesses. But leaving this town to go 15 minutes away by a car to get there. We have one accessible van in all of our county, which is like 5 different towns, only one, and it's broken down half the time. And then we have an accessible bus that's like 3 times the cost to book it. It's like $50 for me to go by the taxi, which is extremely expensive, anyways. But it's 160 to go with the bus. 125 if he's in a good mood that day. Which is still like it's difficult. I want to go into Ottawa, a major city that's just right next to us here. It's the same thing. I'm finding some ways, but they're all like they're not. The system as it's designed isn't working. The system as it's designed is not meeting the needs of us. There are hidden systems that we may be able to access, and if we have lots of money, if we're not, if we have a high income, there are other options for us. But those of us who are, on disability or minimally employed, there just aren't the options that we can access. And it's the same. Like, I mean, it doesn't really matter where we are in Ontario. It's we have the same problems. All of the
Mm.
paratransit systems are not designed for and with people with disability. They are designed uh, with us as a. We're not consumers to them. We're problems. We're costs. It's
Burdens. We're burdens.
burdens. Yeah, and it's so like I
Annoying.
I I
And I know you know this, Arena.
yeah,
And
it's so frustrating. Like
it is.
it really. I mean, one of the things we've talked about before is like we need to find a way of getting the data on this that really, you know, you know, getting a survey in front of people with disability all across the province to figure out like what are your transportation needs, what are the transportation issues, and what and just we need to get all the stuff there so that we can get the government. See, this government does like data, and they like to see that if we spend money here, we're going to save money here. And we all know that the more we have access to transportation and the ability to be included in events and you know, how can we work if we can't get to work? How can we be part of an organization if we can't get to things? How can we participate? How can we spend money if we can't get to the places to spend money? Transportation locks us at home. The lack of proper transportation locks us at home and making it harder for us to be as productive as we'd like to be. Right? It's all about, we're not talking about being productive members of society because our value is in what we work. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about we're productive in our participation. The more we can participate, the more productive we are, and the more connected we are. The everything like our health, our mental health, and all those other stuff, improves. When we have these struggles, when we try for days on end to arrange transportation for something that we need to be at, and we just get roadblock after roadblock, our mental health gets hammered,
Yeah.
and it's
And I mean,
it's
people,
just,
people in Hamilton can't get transportation now for medical appointments. Like,
really.
yeah, people that I've talked to had medical appointments that they weren't able to acquire with our system. It's ridiculous. That's
That
how
can
bad
yeah.
it is. That's
Yeah,
how
I mean,
bad
right
it
now,
is.
I have access to medical transportation anywhere, no problem. I don't have
Mm.
access to. I have no access for quality of life stuff. I wish they could be. I wish my doctors could prescribe me quality of life things. Oh, great! My landlord's
It's
got their piece on. Oh.
you all right?
I've had a month without hearing my next door neighbors with really loud bass music. But it started coming back on today, and I my AirPods knock out the music, but bass is the vibration, and vibrations affect me. So it's
Yeah,
like I
it's
might get a little bit distracted because of this. It's very frustrating. They have like they we've my lawyer has told them that I'm seriously affected. It's a human rights issue, and we thought we had a resolution, and now the music's back, and I'm like, oh, you're talking about getting stressed. Like this is
yeah.
something I
Tell me
thought we
about
had
it.
dealt with. I thought we were okay, and now I'm like in the middle of doing a live, and I'm having a big sensory issue right now.
Oh wow.
I will
I
try to push through, but this is not
power through, friend. It's the last thing that I really want to speak to transit about is they procured a new vehicle that I was one of the first passengers on. Mistake or not a mistake? I don't know, but I caught a call. It was on a weekend, and I got a
mhm.
call on that Monday asking me my thoughts on said vehicle. This vehicle did have the kneeling function on it.
Uh-huh.
However, when the driver walked along the ground on the vehicle, I felt like I was shaking. It's a
Huh.
weird kind of phenomenon. Whereas
Okay.
those without the kneeling function, when the drivers walk on the vehicles or through the vehicles to secure passengers, et cetera, um, there's no problem. But this one with the kneeling function had that problem.
Hmm.
It's very weird. And but and then the last thing I kind of wanted to like just touch on, Maddie, with you on this whole idea of transit is, we have oh, we're working on that, Irina, but thank you. Now, what what I wanted to talk about, Maddie, with regards to transit is the pseudonyms. Toronto, we have Wheel Trans. We have Handy Van. We
Oh
have
yeah, I know.
Trans Help. Do we not understand that those trans words are pseudonyms for other things? I had a lunch area name changed where I work, and I'm not mentioning where I work because I really shouldn't. Um, but it was called the Quad Box, and it was very disheartening for myself and people with disabilities to for what quad is really a pseudonym for, the negative connotation and the negative spin on it. But in
Yeah.
saying that, it was immediately changed. So I applaud those who helped get that name changed. I
Yeah.
mean, it was a contest, and through no fault of the person's own, it was just a misunderstanding. Still good friends with that person, but it was just simply a misunderstanding. So
Yeah.
like, and then kind of just throwing that comparison to Wheel Trans, Trans Help, Handy Van.
Well, when we think about it, like the whole, um, let's call it an industry, but the whole field is considered paratransit. So, which has a very specific meaning.
Right.
Paraplegic. Like there's like accessible transit is my favorite because that's what it should
Yeah,
be. All of this
I
should be
agree.
accessible. But if we want to focus on
Yes,
stuff that is completely, that's what we should be calling it: accessible transportation, accessible
absolutely.
transit, accessible taxis. And it's a name that has implies inclusion. It implies the full realm of people that have disability or mobility issues. And um, yeah, like, oh my God, there's just so many these cutesy names and expressions, almost always made and designed by people who are not disabled. Like it's generally, if something is being made named by people with disabilities, it's either going to go one of two ways. It's going to be really sarcastic and edgy and funny, like you know, them. There's a bunch of them I can name, but I probably won't go there. Um,
Yeah,
or it's
let's.
going to be very clearly, neutral or strengths based. Like accessible transportation as opposed to para transportation. Like the quad. There's so many, uh, so many like
So many
we've
stigmas that prevent us from moving forward. And
words matter,
I don't know if you
right?
absolutely. Have you seen the photo of the accessible washroom that's located down the bottom of the stairs? I
Oh,
got. I have to.
it makes. Oh, I saw the picture that you posted on Facebook from your memories of that accessible thing on a curb that you couldn't get onto, and then
There's a
with
pole right
a
there.
path with a pole of the pay for the parking meter on it. I have experienced similar things.
Yeah,
It's
no, I have too.
like I sometimes like, oh, these accessibility fails are just like, how
You
how
know,
do people possibly think these ways when they design this.
I,
The thing is, they don't. They don't ask people with disabilities before they do things. They think they're doing us a
exactly.
favor.
And they cost more. They're appeasing the able-bodied community. And you know what? You're right, Irene. People are scared of the word say the word disability. Even I say difference of ability quite often. And it's not meaning to be dismissive of disability, but I've always looked at it from our abilities always being different, whether you have a disability or not. So, he's got something on up their sleeve. Okay. Um, where was I going with this? I was going somewhere with this. Oh yeah, in Hamilton, my ward counselor, the incumbent who won against me this past um, election. Yeah, we need to end this too. Stays disability. Exactly. Thank you. So we have these what they call hammer hoops. Hamilton is affectionately known as the hammer,
The hammer. Yeah.
right? Hammer hoops, and these are
Yeah.
basically
Does that mean
steel.
if you lose your if you lose your hammer, you're Thor losers?
It's hammer time, baby. It's hammer time. I think that needs to be a segment. I think that needs to be
Yeah.
like a segment. Like it's hammer time as we do these lives going forward. So with they have these hammer hoops located in different parts of our city. There you go. Um, but they're very poorly placed. They're um, bolted down to sidewalks where bikes are could essentially be hooked up to, by a via lock and whatnot. So when people are traveling, but they impede the sidewalk. They
Yeah.
impede mobility devices.
Yep.
Again,
Yep.
it's not after the fact. People with disabilities are not being thought of at the forefront of.
Sandwich board signs for businesses that they put away from the building so that a wheelchair cannot get around it because they're not thinking wheelchairs, they're thinking of pedestrians, and pedestrians can get around it either way. And it becomes a bigger issue in the winter. I'm actually gonna have to bring like I'm sort of formulating what I want that the our town to change their bylaw about signs about placement. Like we need a downtown sidewalk bylaw, or at least a section of the sign bylaw to deal with that because like they've made the sidewalks a little bit wider, more beautiful, and everything like that. But you put a sign on that, it undoes whatever you've done because it limits access. And god dang it, if I see any bikers on the sidewalks downtown, I'm just they're scary. Like you can't bike on a sidewalk. You can't like it's
They
against the
have
law.
bike lanes. Maybe that's a need
Yeah,
for more bike lanes.
bike lanes, bike paths, only them or the street. Blah, 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 blah. Now, if it's like a 10-year-old person, I'll have a little bit more a thing because I wouldn't want to be when I was 10 driving on the road downtown in the main street. I understand that, but anywhere else, I would say no. Still, road, please. Um,
And I mean, like I've
uh,
had conversations with our counselor about that very topic. I said to him flat out, I
yeah,
feel safer on the road, going with the flow of traffic in my manual
yeah,
wheelchair because I I've told people that during my campaign canvassing, if you want to call it that, I hit a raised edge, a band-aid solution, so to speak, and yeah, I toppled over. But in saying that, like I mean, that was a good learning experience and a good eye-opening experience. That change is necessary. And Irina, you're absolutely right. How can we normalize disability? I think I think people just need to get used to saying the word disability. I mean, to me, it is a sexy thing.
it's a new pickup line. Well, hello
Right.
there. Do you want to hear about my secret disability?
Stay tuned for next week's live. I'm going to use that and see what happens.
Yep, it's above and beyond safe. Okay.
Oh wow! You guys notice that we've missed each other after being off for a week?
I know it's been 2 weeks.
It's
Yeah.
been too long. So,
It's
but
spring. It's all about spring. We're
spring is in the
equinoxing right
air.
now.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
going back to that, how can we normalize disability? I think just
Talk
saying
it.
it in
Just
a
say it.
normal tone.
We like
Exactly, a
we
normal
need.
tone, a
Yeah.
normal voice.
We need to basically tell everybody to stop using cutesy words. Stop avoiding it. Like the more you
Yeah,
avoid it, the more you try to like find a way. Just we live in a world that still is steeped in the deficit model of
the
disability,
stigma.
where we need to be cured, we need to be fixed. There's something wrong with us, and like no, disability is a fact. Disability is an experience. Disability is an identity. All those three things are valid. You know,
Yep.
we're more disabled by the barriers around us than we are with things inside of our own body, right? We know that if you build a ramp, we can get up to a place. If you hit a button, we can get in. If your works are done in braille, we those who are blind can read them. If we have translation, if we have ASL translation, people that are deaf can read, that can follow along. When we do these things, we're able to do the things that we couldn't do before. So is it really us that was disabled, or is just the barriers around us? So we this is one of the things, like I but I would say about 70% of all of the advocacy work I do, and all of the teaching and all of the speaking I do, it's to change language, it's to change perspective, it's to change attitude, and all those things, it's really about, if you want to change your attitude, you got to change the words you're using. You got to change the way you're thinking things. And the first thing that's got to go is, that disability is a bad thing. It can be challenging to have the barriers. It can be challenging to have things that are not going well in your body that you're having a difficulty with. But the whole concept of disability, if we look at it through the lens of the past, yeah, disability is a bad thing. Disability is horrible. But if we look at what disables us mostly, right, and think of it as barriers external to us, then we can look at disability as a as a neutral thing, or even a strength based way of looking. I'm not gonna say positive, because they're people can think that I'm talking too positively about, like, that disability is a great thing. I was just saying disability is a thing, and what we can do with it, and where we can be accommodated, and where we can break down the barriers. That's a good thing. We can still progress, even though our bodies may be giving us significant challenges, right? If we're respected, if we're given agency, if we're listened to, if we're being offered solutions, if people and organizations that are supposed to be supporting us put us first, we're going to do well. Our quality of life will be, will improve. We'll
Thrival.
have the opportunities to thrive. I was going to get there. Quality of life leads to thrival, right?
Yeah.
That's thrive and agency are the words of 2023 for me. Everything is about, everything I do is with the idea that we
I
can
do it
build a
for you.
world where. Thank you.
Okay.
I
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and I now know what it feels like being thrown. Like
Uh,
everything I do is
I do it for you.
really aimed at getting us to be able to thrive. And
Absolutely.
yeah, so
No, I
words
agree.
matter. Language is where we first cut it. So say disability.
Yeah, it's
Disability.
absolutely fine. Here's the thing though. You've heard the old adage: if you build it, they will come. But if you build it accessible, more people will come.
Yeah.
And if you don't build it with accessibility in mind, you send the message that you don't belong here. And is that the message that we want to send?
Yeah, and it's like we've said this before. Disability is the one demographic that's constantly growing, The older
absolutely.
you get, every day you're on this earth, you're closer to having a disability,
And
right?
disability can be an injury, a
Yeah,
temporary disability,
yeah,
a permanent disability, even,
yeah.
and I hate to
It
say
could
it
be
this way, but
challenge.
catastrophic.
Yeah, I was gonna make a cat
You
joke,
know,
but I figured I'd just let it purr. Um, in my brain.
permeate, permeate.
Exactly. Ooh, ooh, you're good today. You're on fire as well,
I'm,
man, my friend.
you know, I'm
You're all
rolling
fired up.
today.
Ooh.
I'm
The
on, I'm on
rolling.
a roll, right? Oh man. Okay,
Exactly.
so,
Oh, are we doing some role playing?
oh, well, I know you are a role model.
Well, thank you.
And speaking of above and beyond, you know what? I am excited because season 4, episode 3 debuts tonight. Cable 14 in
Excellent.
Hamilton, cable14.com had an incredible guest. No spoilers, but her name is Jessica Odie, disabled designer. And we talked a lot about what we're talking about today. So it's kind of like uh, the promo for tonight because we talked about identity first language versus person first language. Cable 14 and cable14.com. So well, that
Yep.
works too. Yeah, perfect. So, and in saying that, Maddie, um, yeah, I'm excited for this episode. I'm excited to for the audience to see this, and hopefully you can catch it on cable14.com at 8:30 and let me know what you think. Yeah, I think right now we are definitely shifting the way above and beyond is going because we are talking a lot more about issues people with disabilities face, and not just touching on necessarily like community involvement, recreation. We're hitting the ground running with issues that are important for people to hear.
Mhm.
You know, and we far too often get overlooked and overshadowed, Maddie. You know this, I know this,
Yep.
and the semblance, and we've talked about this before, but the semblance is, you push towards a person with a disability, and there's this idea, and I'll get into the idea acronym later, but there's this idea that people with disabilities should just be grateful for what we have, content
Yeah.
with what we have rather than what we deserve. Exactly. Exactly. We're not a building project. We're human beings, and we deserve respect, and we deserve to be treated like that. And we far too often get overlooked and overshadowed by a lot of assumptive based mindsets. And enough is enough. So I mean, it's time for change, and I'm glad Darts and Hamilton really is getting a talking to by the city because enough is enough. And it's just and it's okay, I'm going to say this with respect. Trust me when I say this. Why is common sense not so common anymore?
I've always hated that expression. I've hated
You
that
know?
because
but
yeah, I used to say my mom used to say that, like, use your common sense, and I'd say, if it was so common, I'd have it.
right. But why isn't it so common anymore? Why are we jumping through hoops to preserve our integrity, dignity, and respect?
It's yeah, it's systems that don't let go. I mean, all of the isms are all based on uh, you know, systems built by people who wants the world to work a particular way because that's the way it works best for them and they like it. And the longer a system's in place, the harder it is to pull it apart. Eventually, you know. societal pressure changes systems, and they then are redrawn. And we've seen huge changes in some of the systems that we live in. But ableism has just barely
It rears its ugly head.
yeah, it's there. And even though we try doing all kinds of things to improve it, and we get all kinds of allies who really are full, supporting us in trying to get things changed, um, there's there's a rebound, like there's a reflex that the system tends to go back to, if we don't keep trying to pull it apart. Like where it feels sometimes like, we the system's being pulled a little bit, and we're able to see some change, and we're able to see some things going, and that we're like, oh, this is good. And the allies that we have that have been pulling on this because we haven't had the strength ourselves, they're like, okay, this is great. Well, we can move on to the next thing, and it snaps back, right? Like we may have a
Yep.
little bit better than we were before, but the system is snapped back because we haven't fully pulled it apart. We need to treat it like a wishbone.
It's almost as if they're challenging our stamina. That people with disabilities would give
I
up.
feel it's really more. I feel it's really more apathetic than that. I don't think it's intentional. I think it's, as I
I
said,
agree.
it's a reversion, to what's easier, right? So, like, oh, it's too much work to try to get to. It's too much work, too much money to put in all these buses. It's too much work to get, to meet the individual, the IEP for this kid. It's too much work to get the accommodations for this thing. It's going to cost too much to get the software that this
Burden.
person needs. Like, it's like, do we really need ASL at all our meetings? Like, how many deaf people really are out there, and do they really care? Can they just not use YouTube and follow along with whatever it says? Like, it's apathy. It's not
Yeah.
intentional. It's not intentional ableism. It's systemic and apathetic ableism that comes back. It's like, you know, and the thing is, the reason why it's too much is because we're trying to change a system that's already there. What we really need to focus on, is making sure that everything built new doesn't have this ableism built into it. It's like, again, the inclusion from the start part, because there is a cost, there is an effort, there is an energy that needs to be placed on fixing things that are wrong. You know, removing
Yeah.
removing ableism, making things accessible. All these things take a little bit of effort, right? Right
Changing the
now, all of
culture.
the effort is on us to try to adapt. Adapting
Hmm.
so much harder than having things accessible, right? We can
Yep.
only handle so much. The burden is 90% on us and 10% on government right now. And it's I feel that we're in a place in our society that sees that as wrong and wants to set things right, but we have systems that that do not see the need to change themselves. It's like, but it works for everybody else.
Hmm. And in turn, employment will rise for people with disabilities. Therefore, the economy
Volunteer, vol-
rises.
volunteerism will
Volunteer,
rise.
volunteerism will rise, and that will
People.
set off a whole country of thrival.
Yep. The dominoes are like the effect of a domino that in a positive way is incredible,
Hmm.
but it's equally, we've been living in a we've been living with the dominoes have been following the wrong way. And you know when you remove one barrier, the next barrier is easier, the next barrier is easier.
Hmm.
You're able to spread that into, support other people with similar things, and then another barrier goes away. And when you remove the barriers, again, health, mental health, nutrition, the economy, because you got more workers, you got more spenders, you got more people out and about. Like the cogs of the world work better when all of the parts of it are working well. But when
Yeah, all of the dominoes need to fall the right way.
yeah, so
And
say disability, consider us as a vital part of the world. Change the attitude, change the words, say disability, um, and fight to remove any barriers that you see in front of yourself or the people that you love and around them. And the one thing we haven't talked about this week, which maybe we need to do a surprise. Well, it won't be a surprise. I'm saying it now, but maybe we need to do another live on Thursday after the Ontario budget, which is being
Aha.
released. Yes,
Aha. Yes. Okay.
yeah,
Well, yeah. I mean, speaking of ODSP, uh, there is the talk where the ODSP rates for those who are employed while still on ODSP was supposed to go up. I don't know if it
it
did.
is.
To be honest with
It
you.
did. It
I,
took
I don't.
effect in February. Took effect in February.
Well, not based on my, and I don't want to, get into my personal situation, but I feel like it still wasn't part of the solution. So I won't get into it because it's my own
You
personal
and I can chat
situation.
later.
But
Yeah.
yeah, we'll chat later on that. But yeah, guys, I thank you guys for joining us. Yes, we will be there. Rally at Queens Park, April 25th. Maddie, what's the update on that? Because I apologize, I haven't been to any of the meetings.
This is the update. We're having it that day,
Yeah.
and the posters and stuff will go around. We'll probably do a promotional video about it in a week or two. We're
Yep.
gonna have a bunch of good speakers, and yeah, we're working through all the details. But the poster and the press release are going to go out this week. And
I may or may
yeah,
not be emceeing it. I don't know yet. Am I, Maddie?
I
Has
don't know.
that been
We haven't got there yet.
okay? So to be confirmed, but
Yeah,
probably.
when you work by committee, you tend to have a lot of things to get worked out. So
Yep.
we're working on it. We'll let we'll announce it
We'll
when we have
announce
it.
it later on, guys. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
But
So
once again, Above and Beyond is on tonight, 8:30 p.m. on Cable 14 and cable14.com.
I need a graphic for that, so I can every time you say that I can post it up. So whatever the graphic that for that week, I'll just go remind me that. So for next week,
Well, I
I'll add it
have
to it.
I have it on my Facebook. I post it all the time.
I
So you
know,
just
but I'm
steal
talking
it.
about in this video here. Okay, fine, I'll steal it. You're right. I did see it
I
this
mean,
morning. Bad me. I haven't. I'm. The point is, I think I've had enough coffee today, but I'm at the point where I also need supper. So the coffee is going down. So I'm hyper. Coffee
okay.
calms me down. When I'm out of coffee, I get a little bit hyper. People don't handle me very well first thing in the morning because I'm like coffee first. Oh, and
Uh,
then I'm like, hi, how you doing? It's great. All right, what are we gonna do?
all right. Let's end this off, Maddie,
All
on
right.
a very pressing question. Okay. How
Okay.
do you take your coffee?
Depends.
Uh-oh.
It's usually black. I tend to, sometimes I have like one sugar, one honey, or I'll do like when I go to
Honey.
Timmy's.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
When I go to Tim
And that's
Hortons,
new
I,
coffee.
yeah, when I go to Tim Hortons, I tend to get 2/3 dark roast coffee, 1/3 hot chocolate. Because then you got a slow down and a buzz, and it's just. At different times, in the winter time, I'll tend to put what I just said, the 2/3 dark roast and 1/3 chocolate, and I'll put a peppermint tea um, thing in it. So you got a peppermint burst as well as the chocolate, as well as the coffee. Yeah, but
I need a photo of
I
this.
also like a steamed apple tea with caramel and whipped cream. That's another favorite of mine.
I need a photo of this. I okay. We're gonna talk about this offline. I need a photo of
All right,
this, and
we're gonna spill the tea.
what I was just about to say that. All right, guys. Thanks so much for joining us. This has been an awesome live. We just pretty much hit an hour. You can join us at Above and Beyond the Podcast at gmail.com. Any questions or concerns? I'm at Above and Beyond. Anthony Frisina at Above Beyond for you. Matt is at Matt J. Dever on Twitter at the AutisticRambler.com at AnthonyFrisina.ca. Yeah, this has been a great live. Thanks for joining us, and we'll chat next time.
Bye-bye.